They lined up on the platform, the smoke of the steam engine already curling into the sky. Most of us stood quiet, our eyes wide and our hands clenched around our little cloth bags. They lined us up on the platform, the smoke of the steam engine rising into the empty station. We all waited patiently for our departure. They told us our parents were just at the hospital, that they'd be back to pick us up soon, but they never came back. The train pulled into the station with a low, heavy whistle, swallowing the deafening silence as we left to the unknown. Men in dark coats waved flags and shouted orders. One pointing at the train, shouting at us to get on. Carriages full of children, some no older than 5. German, Italian, Irish. Who were they? Some were crying. A few were laughing, but not for long. No one really knew where we were going. No one explained why it was only children on that train. Where were the adults? Why just the workers, shouting and keeping us in line? Where were they taking us? I kept thinking, where are the parents? Why didn't they come? Where have they gone? We sat on the hard wooden benches. A man stumped down the aisle, yelling at us to keep still, or there'll be punishment. A silence fell heavy on the carriage, and no one didn't dare speak after that. We travelled for hours from the city to endless fields of corn. Every so often, the train would stop and a few kids would be taken off. Then the whistle would blow and the train would roll on. Finally, it was our turn. The train screeched to a halt. A man with a flag shouted, "Orphan Trains here," with lots of people gathering on the platform. We were led off and lined up by height on the dusty platform. A tall man in a bowler hat walked slowly down the line, inspecting us like livestock. He'd stop, point and say, "That one," and then another child was gone. They told us we were going to the farms just for the summer, that we'd be seeing our mums and dads soon. But even at that point, some of us knew it was a lie. The wagon took me and a few others out to a place called Rosedale Farm. We were given rough work clothes and sent into the fields before we could even rest. We worked from sunrise to dusk, day after day, week after week. They fed us, gave us shelter, but only if we worked. If you didn't pull your weight, you were sent away. I saw it happen. Kids were too small or too sick were taken off in the wagon. Some said they were sold off at the market. I didn't ask questions. I kept my head down. I did what I was told. The man who ran the farm wasn't really cruel, but he had a job to do, and if you couldn't help him do it, he found other kids that would. The summers turned into years. My parents never came. The letters we wrote were never answered. Eventually we stopped writing to them and the memory of them just faded away. The farms became our way of life. By 1929, the orphan train stopped running. Thousands of us had already scattered across the Midwest, living and working on farms, adopted and taken into families. Some had it harder than others. Then the war came. They said bombs might fall on the fields, and we were told to hide when the sirens went off. We had already been fighting a war all our lives, a war where we had to survive. I worked through those years and I held onto one thing, that this one day will be better. And then the war ended. Things didn't get easier right away. There was poverty, hunger, too many people chasing too little work. But I was grown up by then. I had left the farm and moved to the city. So here I am, 40 years later. Every morning I stand on the train platform, coffee in one hand, briefcase in the other. I look around at the faces, young ones, old ones, and I wonder, were they on the orphan trains too? Did they make it out like I did?